All right, this next position is going to be working into the single leg deadlift and single leg squat on the Bosu ball, which will be fairly challenging. So I like the transition between the two. We'll show each one separately and then we'll talk about how we coordinate them together. So as in previous videos, you'll step into the middle of the Bosu ball and you'll get your balance, and it does help making sure that your foot is positioned right in the center. And then you're going to start to move your head and your back foot in opposite directions, trying to make sure there's no movement at your back. So as I go forward, I'm going to let my head go forward as my leg goes back, and I really try and make sure there's no movement at my back. All of the movement comes from that hip that I'm standing on. And as I'm doing this, I have just a slight bend in my knee, so my knee's not locked out straight. But once I unlock that knee, all the motion comes from my hip. And as I get down here, I can get to where I feel tension in my hamstring, or start off just in a range that you can control this. Usually when we initiate this, if people go too far, they really start losing control of their body. So just go in a range that you feel comfortable and come back up. The other piece that I'm going to talk about is that some people do have this tendency to rotate their hips outward. You want to try and make sure that your pelvis stays square. Some people will say that it's helpful if they keep their hands on their pelvis so they can kind of feel if it starts to rotate. But I would try for somewhere in the 10 to 20 of these, and then progressing towards mixing this in with a single leg squat. So we're just going to go into that next. So another movement that we would do on here would be to take my fingertips forward and to drop my butt back into this single leg squat position. One important piece is the positioning of my knee, as I want to make sure as I do something like this, my knee doesn't start to cave inward. So I really try and make sure that I keep my knee out so it's centered over top of my foot as my butt sinks back. Now once again, you could do this as a separate exercise, somewhere in the 10 to 20, and then the third option would be to mix the two together. So I like having people go into that single leg deadlift where I keep my back nice and flat as I come down, as far as I can control or to where I feel tension in my hamstring. Coming back up, leg goes in front, and I drop into that squat. So it's nice to mix those two together to get some hamstring and glute as well as quad, while your ankle and foot are really working to maintain balance on this Bosu ball.